Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. We're back with the top 5 most important players, or the players I think going to have the best season with the Saints this upcoming season. But before we jump into that, we're going to talk about one guy who didn't make the list. Maybe y'all thought y'all were going to see him in the top 5, but it's not happening. And that is no other than Michael Thomas. Now, obviously there's a big caveat, big asterisk next to Michael Thomas not being, on the list. Obviously, when healthy, he's a top 20 Saints player. We all know that at this point. But at this point, you can't count on him. I'm not going to say you can't count on him, but you haven't been able to count on him. Now, obviously, I want Michael Thomas to be healthy. I need him out there on that field. 15, 16, 17 games would be amazing. But, hey, man, at this point, if we get 10-plus out of Michael Thomas this season, that's a win. That's a win in my book. So he didn't make the list. Obviously, he's top 20 talent, top 10 talent. When he's fully healthy and he's going, he's top 5 on his team. But you're not making my list. Haven't got anything out of him in two plus seasons. I just can't put you in the top 20. It just can't happen. It just can't happen until he shows. He doesn't have to show me anything, but until he shows, he can be on the field. Couldn't make the top 20 list. Hey, and hopefully he sees. Michael Thomas look for anything for inspiration. Maybe he sees this and hey, go out there and prove it, man. But we know he's top 20 talent. But let's jump into the guys that are actually on the list. And at number 5, man. Number 5, a guy that harsh criticism last season, not last season, but the year before that. Had a good year this season, and that's Cam Jordan, man. Made it to his 8th Pro Bowl. Obviously, going to be a Saints Hall of Fame guy, Hall of Famer just in general, but going to get his jersey retired in the rafters, man. He's making a case to be one of the best players in Saints history. Well, he's already that, but he's trying to move up that ladder. Finished the season 8.5 sacks. Started 16 games for him. Obviously, Mr. Reliable, Cam Jordan. He's always going to bring that. He's going to be on the field most of the time. Most of the time, he's going to be on the field, and that's what Cam Jordan brings. Good in the run game. You can't really just look at the sacks when you look at Cam Jordan. Obviously, you got to look at the run game with him as well. He's probably the best run-stopping defensive end in the league. I want to say one of the best ever. He's really, really that good against the run. I'm willing to say he's one of the best to ever do it against the run. That's Cam Jordan. He's really good at that aspect of the game, and he can rush the passer. Having a defense end that can rush the passer as a bonus is crazy. Usually, you have a pass rusher, and if they can stop the run, good. He's kind of the opposite of that. He's really good at rushing the passer, but he's super great at stopping the run. So, man, Cam Jordan comes in number 5 on the list. I think better season. The numbers were down from last year, from the 2021 season, but those 12.5 sacks, he didn't perform that way. He had about 4 or 5 in the last game against the Falcons, so he kind of, enhance those numbers, I would say. But Cam Jordan comes in at number 5, man. Obviously, really good, important player, captain, leader in the locker room, all those good things. Can't say enough about Cam Jordan and what he means to the Saints. Then at number 4, a guy that I think maybe is top 2 in talent on his roster, but he comes in number 4 because the production hasn't been there. Blame it on whoever you want, and that's Alvin Kamara. Obviously, he's going to probably get suspended this season, so the numbers probably won't be great. He might not even run for 1,000 yards. Still hasn't done it in his career. This year, probably won't do it. If he can do it in 12, 13 games, then maybe he'll do it. But, coming in at 897 yards last season, only averaged 4.0 yards a carry. And for him, that's not good. He needs to be in that high 4, maybe 5 range, to be honest. 2 touchdowns. Only 2 touchdowns last season. Can't put it on him. You got Taysom Hill in the red zone, and the Saints just wasn't scoring points. You can put it on Pete Carmichael. Put it on whoever you want. But Alvin Kamara, obviously, we need him. We need him to be healthy. We need him to be great. He's, a top talent on his roster. The best offensive weapon we have. The best offensive weapon we have. We need him to get going this season, better than last season. Only 57 catches last season, which was up from the 47. Because, playing with Jameis Winston, more of a deep ball thrower. Andy Dalton takes it down a little bit more. Hopefully Derek Carr gets him back. Not in that Drew Brees range, because I think he was 81 for 4 consecutive years or something like that. Doesn't have to be that. But need to get to at least over 60 for sure. 65 would be great. I already did stat predictions. You can go check that out because I forgot what I predicted him as. But it definitely needs to be more than what he had the past 2 seasons. So Alvin Kamara comes to number 4 on the list. Now the top 3 was hard. Top 3 was hard for me. A guy that doesn't really get the love, that should get the love. But that's just kind of how it goes in the NFL because you're on the offensive line. Don't really get that love. And it's Ryan Ramczyk. And I got a bone to pick with the Ryan Ramczyk situation, obviously. Ryan Ramczyk, obviously, all-pro guy, Pro Bowl guy, man. He's just obviously one of the best tackles in the game. Kind of goes unheard of, unmentioned with the Saints just because you're on the offensive line. It's not a sexy position, but we need him. He's really, really good. He's kind of flipped the narrative of not he's kind of, but the NFL's kind of flipped the narratives as a whole. But the left tackle was always the most important position. You had to have that dominant left tackle. You had to pay your left tackle the most money, all of those things. But He's like coming into that tradition of the NFL now. The right tackle is just as important as the left tackle in these, in NFL these days. Everybody's not just taking their best guy and putting them on the left side. Ron Ramczyk help create that wave, join that wave. So really, really good player for the Saints, man. Obviously, I can't say enough good things about Ron Ramczyk. Obviously, he's number 3 on the list. Obviously, I think highly of him. I think he's gonna have another good season. Only 29, still has a lot left in the tank. But my bone to pick, like I did say, I had a bone to pick. He was All-Pro consecutive years. He has not made an All-Pro team since Drew Brees left. Now, don't tell me he's gotten worse. You can't tell me he's gotten worse in the, at ages 27, 28, 29. He hasn't gotten worse. It's the NFL, Drew Brees, Sean Payton. They're going to bring, the cameras, the eyes to the situation. Your quarterback's going to do great. So, obviously, they're going to reward the offensive lineman. But as soon as Drew Brees leaves, Sean Payton leaves, you stop rewarding the offensive lineman just because the quarterback play was subpar. You can't put that on the right tackle. So, NFL voters and people that's not watching the games, I was going to say the guys that are voting on these things watching the games, but I know y'all not watching the games. Stop disrespecting Ron Ramczyk. Let that man be a Pro Bowler. Let that man be an All-Pro. He deserves it every year, just about. Don't just put it on him because the quarterbacks are struggling. He's doing his job. I'll tell you that. For the most part, he's doing his job. But yeah, that's my slight bone to pick with the, NFL All-Pro voters and stuff like that. And number 2 on the list, man, it was tough. It was tough. These top 2 guys were tough. But Demario Davis comes in at number 2 on the list, man. 34 years old. You can't tell. You can't really tell. Sometimes he looks 24. A couple times he looked 34. But for the most part, he's looking young out there. And one of the best players. He was the best player on the Saints defense last year. The most consistent player. Started all 17 games, man, at that age. All 17 games. And I can see it. He's lost a step. But that's not like a knock. Because if you get an All-Pro, Hall of Fame, he had like a Hall of Fame caliber run. I don't know if he'll make it just because the beginning of his career isn't, what the end is. But, man, he's putting on a Hall of Fame caliber run right now. He's probably going to make it, to be honest, because he's playing so great right now. But, I mean, like I said, you can tell he lost a step. And if you got a Hall of Fame talent, you're playing at that level, you losing a step is just basically Pro Bowl talent. I mean, we'll take it. You'll still take it. So, Demario Davis coming in at number 2, man. Really, really good player. 109 tackles last season. Even in his numbers, you can tell he kind of lost a step because his solo tackles went down a little bit. Solo tackles crept down. His assist tackles went up, so, more help tackling by committee. But you still need. I'm not going to nitpick Demario Davis because obviously I put him at number 2. He's legit. He's the real deal. Don't have to go, into detail about that. 6.5 sacks last year. Great at rushing the passer. I mean, just a smart player, great player, leader on the defense, good dude for what it seems like. Don't know him, but everything I see, seems like a good person as well. Demario Davis, I mean, cornerstone for the Saints, man. Helped turn this defense around. Dude's just a beast. Absolute beast, man. We had some great defenses over the years, and he's been leading the way. So Demario Davis does come in at number 2 on the list. And number 1 on the list, a guy that I think is going to have a really, really good season if he's on the field. Hopefully he stays healthy. He's been healthy his whole career for the most part. That's Marshon Lattimore, man. He comes in at number 1 on my list. Only played 7 games last year. Did come back late against the Eagles. Got that pick 6. Dude's just a beast. Dude's a beast, man. Made 4 Pro Bowls in his career. All Pro. Defensive Rookie of the Year his first season. I think this is going to be his best season since his rookie season. Now, I'm not saying his rookie season was like the best version of him, but that's when he got all the accolades. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Pro Bowl, first team All-Pro, things like that. Made 3 straight Pro Bowls before last year when he got injured. I think this season is going to be, he's going to remind people who he is. I'll just say that. You got a lot of people ranking him like the bottom of the top 10 in corners. I see a lot of Sauce Gardners, Surtains, Slays, Jair Alexander's like just immediately ahead of him with people don't even debate it anymore. I think he's going to remind people who he is. I think he's going to remind people. I've seen the Marlon Humphreys, whoever you want to put in front of him. I've seen a lot of names in front of him. I think this year's the year Marshon Lattimore reminds people. He reminds people who he is. And we have a tough slate. Not a tough slate, but we have a good slate. A good slate of games this year. Actually, let me pull that up right now, man. Because it's going to be some receivers. It's going to be some receivers on the schedule. Hopkins, game 1. Hopkins, game 1 against the Titans. So out the gate, he's going to have a top-tier receiver, he's going against. So, yeah, it's going to be – we got the Bucks, obviously. So you got that Mike Evans matchup. You got the Jaguars, the Ridley matchup. So it's you got a Pittman matchup in there. Jefferson, again, you know what Jefferson did him last season. That's going to be back. We got the Rams, Cooper Kupp possibly match up. He plays a lot of slots. So it's going to be games where I think Marshon Lattimore is going to shine. He's going to take games over, take away half of the field, and it also helps now that you have good cornerbacks. So he might get trotted a little bit more this year. Alontae Taylor is really good. Paulson Adebo, if he can get his stuff back together, get healthy, he's really, really good. If the pass rush can get going, that also is going to help the DBs. So I do think Marshon Lattimore is going to have a really, really good season. Cornerback 1 in my book in the league. Maybe I'm biased. And he's just entering his prime, man. About to be like 27 years old. I think this is the year where the conversation starts to turn back into Marshon Lattimore's the best corner in the league. I know they've kind of dwindled down a little bit. He was hurt. So, like, out of sight, out of mind. You know, they always say out of sight, out of mind. I think he's going to be in sight in a lot of people's mind this year. I think Marshon Lattimore states his case for the best cornerback in the NFL this season. That's how good of a season I think he'll have, man. So that's the top 5. I got Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Demario Davis, and Marshon Lattimore. Now, obviously, I don't think anybody top 5 will change. I don't think anybody top 5 will change for the Saints. Those guys are the top 5. That's the core of this team. We go as they go. Obviously, you can throw Derek Carr in the mix as well just because he's the quarterback. But those 5 guys, we're only going to go as far as they take them. Now, obviously, other people still have to do their job. Coaching has to be better than it was last year. Kickers. Like, Lutz didn't even make my top 20, man. Lutz was like a guaranteed spot, but he had a bad season last year. I think he'll end up being in the top 20 for next season. But I think him and MT were probably the noticeable misses. I think Gillikin could have been top 22 after his first season last year, down year. I think he'll be in the top 20 after this next season too. But, man, that's the top 5. Let me know how y'all rank y'all top 5. I saw a lot of comments. I did see one comment that said, hey, Lattimore better be number 1. Hey, I got you guys your wish, man, because we're on the same page with that one. I think Lattimore is going to be the best player on the Saints roster next year. And that's just a good thing for us because he's a really, really good player. And we'll see how it turns out. But, man, let me know what y'all think in the comments below. As always, this is the Boo Tragedies. And I'm out.